everybody. I'm Lisa Brennan.
And I'm Justin Trice. Welcome to Crime of the Arts,
a true crime podcast that peeks behind the curtain to shine a light on the dark and untold truths of the creative arts.
From film set mysteries to celebrity murders and art heists, these two theater nerds will usher you into the unknown.
This week, I'm going to tell you the story I like to title Blacklisted, the Brendan Fraser story.
Oh, Brendan Fraser. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Special request from the Auntie Carrie.
Oh, okay. Hey, Auntie Carrie. Well, I look forward to that story. I'm pretty familiar with it, but I got a lot to say, so we're good. And today I'm going to talk to y'all about Adrienne Shelly. Some of y'all know her as an American actress, film director, and screenwriter. She directed a lot of independent films, but her legacy is the movie Waitress, which, yes, also ended up turning into a Broadway musical. But we're going to get into what happened with Adrienne Shelly later on.
I don't have a clue. I didn't even know that the Broadway musical was based off of anything else. I love Sarah Bareilles. That's all I know.
Funny.
So.
I mean, again, I love the movie, which Adrienne Shelly co-starred in, as well as wrote and directed it. Kerry Russell's the lead. She's the supporting character in it, and it's.
Don't like Kerry Russell.
Kerry Russell grew on me over the year, but that's a whole other conversation. We're gonna talk about it. We'll get there. Okay.
All right. I'm gonna dive right in. Aunt Carrie called and she was like, "Hey, I got a question. What the hell happened to Brendan Fraser? I keep hearing that something happened. What happened?"
Everything.
And I was like, "Oh, you don't know that story?" She's like, "No, but are you gonna cover it on the podcast? Because I kind of want to know." It's like, sure, we could do that. So, special request. Here you go. Our number one Patreon. Oh,
speaking of Patreon, right?
Speaking of Patreon. Yeah. We have a very special shout out to an old friend who is a new patron on our Patreon. Artie. Thanks, man.
Artie, if you are listening, thank you so much for your constant support. It's been a long time. You've always been awesome. I mean, we didn't need you to listen to the podcast to know that you were awesome, but that just continues to cement your legacy. You're a good guy, and we appreciate your support.
Thanks, Artie.
Thank you.
Okay, so back to focusing. I'm reining it in here. I'm a little scattered right now. Okay, so get my life together. So Brendan James Fraser is an American-Canadian actor known for his leading roles in blockbuster comedies and dramatic films. He is the youngest of four boys, that is a lot of boys.
Isn't it?
And he was born in Indianapolis, Indiana on March 3rd, 1968. He is the son of Canadian parents, Carol Mary and Peter Fraser. His mother was a sales counselor and his father was a former journalist who worked as a Canadian Foreign Service officer for the Government Office of Tourism. Fun fact. He's got a maternal uncle named Georges Genereux, and he's the only Canadian to win a gold medal in the 1952 Summer Olympics.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Random, I know. So his family actually moved pretty often during his childhood. They lived in Eureka, California, Seattle, Washington, Ottawa, Ontario, the Netherlands, Switzerland, and he attended Upper Canada College, and it's a private boarding school in Toronto. What makes you send your kid to boarding school when you're, a normal family? She's like a sales rep and like a federal employee. So like, why are you sending your kid to private school? I don't know.
Interesting. I would not have known about him being Canadian. No. His accent's not.
And then you think about like the school ties. Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay. While on vacation in London, he attended his first professional theater show in the West End, which began his interest in acting. He graduated from Seattle's Cornish College of the Arts in 1990, and he began acting, and he planned on studying toward a Master's of Fine Arts from Southern Methodist University. But he stopped in Hollywood on the way and decided to remain there to work in films. A Master's of Fine Arts in acting seems like a waste of money. But that is just my opinion. That is a lot of education for something you don't need an education for. If you got it, you got it. If you don't, you don't. Right?
This is
controversial.
Well, it's controversial. It's a hot topic. I'm just grateful now that a lot of master programs for theater, they're finally like free. Well, they're specialized, but now they're free. Because I personally feel like if you want to go for your master's in theater, that's great, but I feel like you shouldn't have to pay all that extra money towards it. So I'm glad certain schools have alleviated that now. I will say that much. I would not pay for it. That's just me. If you have the experience or gain the life experience.
Yeah, and I have my own family member has gone to get his master's degree. Yeah. And I think that there's a lot to be said for it as long as it's in something specific.
Exactly. It has to be specialized.
But if you're just going to do more theater in college, like it's not not worth the money.
No, I agree with you on that. It has to be specialized, and in terms of collegiate academic theater, that's all what it is. But the real world of acting is different.
Yes.
Now, don't get me wrong. certain schools back in the day, if you had a master's from there, you're not necessarily going for the master's.
You're going for the name,
you're
like
paying,
Yale.
You're going for, Yale, Juilliard, things like that. You're going for that.
Right.
You're going for the prestige of that. Hell, you could go into Juilliard 1 year and then just drop out. But because you went to Juilliard, everybody was hiring you. Val Kilmer, all these people did that.
Who did we talk about?
Kelsey Grammer.
That's what it was. Back to Brendan Fraser. So he made his debut in 1990 in Dogfight. But his breakthrough roles didn't come until 92 with the comedy Encino Man, which is an amazing movie.
Yes.
And the drama School Ties. He gained further prominence for his starring role in George of the Jungle, and he emerged a star playing Rick O'Connell in the Mummy trilogy.
Yes.
I love all of these movies. The one movie that's not in this listing is Blast from the Past, when he was like the guy in a bomb shelter for 35 years. I freaking love that movie.
That was great. And I loved the Bedazzled remake with him and Elizabeth Hurley.
So he took on dramatic roles in Gods and Monsters, The Quiet American, and Crash, and further fantasy roles in Bedazzled with the gorgeous Elizabeth Hurley, and movies such as Journey to the Center of the Earth. I mean, these are all like amazing movies to have been a part of. And it's funny because in my head, I don't know why I didn't associate him with like 90s stardom, but he really was a 90s star.
Oh yeah, he was. He was part of. He was a staple within the 90s.
He was in all the things. Yeah. All the things. The Mummies trilogy alone was like one of the first. It was like CGI stuff, something unlike anything else that had been coming out besides like Indiana Jones feel.
Well, see, that was the end of the 90s too, because like the first Mummy was like the end of it. Mummy Returns was in the 2000s. Yeah.
And then the Mummy with the Rock.
Scorpion King. Yeah, we don't talk about that.
We deleted that from the canon of the Mummies.
Truth be told, I don't even talk about the third Mummy film either, because that's not. But yeah.
Okay, so being one of the leading male actors in the 1990s, it's no surprise that Brendan Fraser was one of the first male actors to come forward during the hashtag #MeToo movement in 2018. And I can only think of one other male that came forward with sexual abuse allegations.
Terry Crews.
Not Terry Crews. I guess that's two.
Oh, okay.
Anthony Rapp is one.
Well, Anthony Rapp,
that's pretty prominent still and only sort of kind of settled. But who did you say? Terry Crews?
Yeah, Terry Crews. He might have actually came out about it before. I'll say he came out after Brendan Fraser, but yes, he talked about a particular incident where he was at a particular party and one of the casting directors had like groped him, touched his butt, things like that.
Yeah, and
he went off about
there's
that.
There's a different stigma around male sexual assault, as if it like cannot possibly happen to a grown man, which is ridiculous. Additionally, if the assault is two men, like one male on another male, then they don't want to talk about it at all. No one wants to talk about that.
It is like a weird taboo.
Right?
Yeah.
And for as far as we've actually come as a society about LGBTQ plus community and same-sex sexual assault, specifically male, is just something that can't be talked about. In 2018, at the height of the Me Too movement, Brendan told his story in an exclusive with GQ magazine. And he said that he was assaulted by the former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. His name is Philip Burke. For those who are unfamiliar, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is a non-for-profit organization of journalists and photographers who report on American entertainment industry stuff. And it's predominantly for foreign media markets. But they are best known for founding and conducting the annual Golden Globe Awards ceremony every January. And this honors notable achievements in film and television. There's 105 members in this association.
I was going to say, wasn't he the head of that too at one point? Yeah.
He was the president 8 times.
He was the president.
8 times.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
So this group is no stranger to controversy, and we'll get a little bit into that as we go into this story, specifically about diversity and inclusion. But Fraser said that the former president, Philip Burke, sexually assaulted him in the summer of 2003 while attending an HFPA luncheon at a Beverly Hills hotel. An incident Burke disputes vehemently for years. And Fraser said he believes that he was blacklisted in Hollywood partly due to the aftermath of the alleged incident. And, you know, for all the shit that people don't get blacklisted for, that he gets blacklisted for something he didn't even actually do is kind of wild to me. So he said the assault happened when Burke reached out to shake his hand as they were exiting the hotel. And this is a quote from Brendan. He said, his left hand reached around and grabbed my ass cheek, and one of his fingers touched me in the taint, and he starts moving it around. And the incident left Fraser overcome with panic and fear. And in the interview, while he was recalling his emotions for GQ, telling the story, he said that after Burke removed his hand, I felt ill. I felt like a little kid. I felt like there was a ball in my throat and I just was going to cry. I felt like someone had thrown invisible paint on me. And I feel like that's an interesting image, invisible paint, just the idea that you're now coated in something or you've experienced something that no one else can really see, but it's really affecting you. So he ended up telling his wife about what had happened at the time, but he didn't have the courage to speak up earlier than everyone else in the Me Too movement for risk of humiliation and damaging his career. And he didn't want to contend with how that actually made him feel, you know, and it becoming like a part of his narrative, a part of his story.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's exactly what it is now. It is a part of his narrative, no matter what. Anytime you bring up Brendan Fraser, it's like, where the hell did he go? Oh, this thing happened to him. Now he's making a comeback, right? That's like his punchline right now. So, and I think that what he feels in the moment and how he felt afterwards is pretty much how every assault victim feels. And that's why so many of them don't come forward. They don't want to be questioned in the truthfulness of their claim. They don't want to be embarrassed or humiliated, threaten their livelihood in their careers or society. So he actually had his representatives reach out to the association when it happened, asking for a written apology. He called him out. He just didn't do it publicly.
Right.
And HFPA agreed that they would never allow Burke in the same room with him again. However, after the GQ article was published, they put out their own official statement, and it read, the HFPA stands firmly against sexual harassment and the type of behavior described in this article. Over the years, we've continued a positive working relationship with Brendan, which includes announcing Golden Globe nominees, attending the ceremony, and participating in press conferences. This report includes alleged information that the HFPA was previously unaware of. And at this time, we are investigating further details surrounding the incident. Not a bad statement, surprisingly.
Not bad. It sounded a little damage control to me, but at least they put something out there. They didn't completely sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, they put something out. So the CYA, I think that you're feeling that I also see is like that we still invited him to stuff, right?
Yeah. We still took care of him.
So in 2018, there's a whole lot of see what cover your ass happening here, where the association puts out a statement and then Philip Burke went to the New York Times to cover his own ass. And he was still a member of the association, and he denied the assault ever happened in his very own interview. And he said, and I quote, Mr. Fraser's version is a total fabrication. He also acknowledged that he wrote a letter to Fraser about the alleged incident and that, quote, this is his quote, which is, quote, my apology admitted no wrongdoing, but the usual, if I've done something that upset you, Mr. Fraser, it was not intended and I apologize was in there. This guy sounds like a real ass. So the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, after an investigation sparked by Fraser's allegation, concluded Burke's touching was intended to be taken as a joke and not a sexual advance. Ha! Unwanted public taint touching. Hilarious.
Oh, okay.
Are they serious?
Okay.
I can't. Could you imagine if someone like publicly grabbed a woman's breast and then was like, I was just joking. It was intended to be a joke.
I was just kidding. Oh, no.
There's such a weird wall against male-on-male sexual assault that it's somehow allowed to be considered a joke. Unwarranted touching is unwarranted touching. And they actually had the audacity to go to Brendan Fraser and ask him to put it out as a joint statement, like to sign off on it, saying, oh, I knew, I agree it was a joke. And he was like, fuck off. No, I'm not signing that. I'm not taking part in it. So, unfortunately for the universe, the asshat, that is Philip Burke, wrote a memoir.
I saw that.
And he published it in 2014, and it was called With Signs and Wonders, My Journey from Darkest Africa to the Brightest Lights of Hollywood. And in the book, Burke recounted the incident in his own words, saying he pinched Fraser's ass in jest. So which one is it? Is it...
You didn't do anything at all, or
right.
Now or we pinched?
You didn't do anything. It's a complete fabrication. And then it was, I grabbed his ass and I was just joking around and he shouldn't have been upset about it. That's on you. And I just hate how this predator was left to go on being the president of a major cog in the Hollywood machine for years.
I mean, a lot of them are.
And that a super talented actor like Brendan Fraser is the one who paid the price for this man's actions. And at the end of the day, who knows what he could have done in the decade he's been missing. So the first thing I thought of when I was doing the research for this is that this can't possibly be the only inappropriate thing that this guy has done. And I found...
I'm sure you found some stuff.
I found a tweet from an actor named James Woods. And he didn't say anything about any of this until after he saw the GQ article. It's really interesting how the Me Too movement kind of spurred this, for lack of a better term, like gush of people coming forward. Like there's so much power in numbers. So he came forward and he actually shared the link to the GQ article on his Twitter. And he wrote, I recommend this interview highly. I, too, was blacklisted by the individual at HFPA after 9 Golden Globe nominations. During a press junket, he asked if I would support Hillary Clinton if she ever ran for president. And I was never nominated again. For the record, however, he was never physically sketchy with me in any way similar that alleged by Brendan Fraser in GQ. He was probably aware I might have knocked his teeth out had he tried.
Yeah, I just processed who you meant to. James Woods, like a classic American actor. James Woods. Yeah, James Woods would have.
Yep.
That's funny. That's crazy. Yeah, he would have knocked him out. Yeah.
And he said, final note, I'm so glad Brendan Fraser is back entertaining us. I'm a big fan. And that's in 2018. So to me, I don't feel like Brendan Fraser was back in 2018. I don't feel like Brendan Fraser was back until he just did The Whale. Like, he's done things, but no one really gave a shit.
I'm gonna disagree. Okay. He was making, because like he was making his comeback. I'd say around 2016, 2017 is when we started to get the comeback of Brendan Fraser. Like he had FX show Trust. He then had that Canadian show on CW with Tom Welling that I refused to watch. But also,
what was on CW with Tom Welling? Tom Welling from Smallville.
Yeah. It doesn't air in America. It's only in Canada. But what they did now is it came out like 4 years ago. But what they've been doing is re-airing the episodes now on the stateside. Okay. I forgot the name of it because I saw clips of this and I was like, I'm not watching this. This doesn't look that good. But I think for me, too, the biggest thing that set him up for his comeback, DC's original show, Doom Patrol. Like, I know you don't watch that, but it's like 4 or 5 seasons in. It's a pretty huge show. He is in it, and he plays. It goes between flashbacks to show him in the past. He was an asshole race driver who essentially got into a crazy accident, and now they transferred his mind into this robot. But he's like this foul-mouthed, no-talking, disgruntled person with life. Really good show.
That sounds really interesting.
If you're into comic book stuff, yeah. But that really set him up. And then, with all of this stuff now happening, the A24, Darren Aronofsky, The Whale. I said right away the moment they cast him, I was like, this is going to take him to the the top again.
And it did, and I mean, he's now like he's the headline in stories, and people want to talk about him. Whereas before, like I don't watch those kinds of things, so maybe I don't know. You also know about obscure things, like a random Canadian show with Tom Welling. Like who the fuck knows about that?
You know, you're gonna look it up later because you like both those people.
I know. I have no choice now. Yes.
There you go.
That's why I asked
there
what
you
the
go.
hell you were talking about. So Brendan Fraser did talk about how he was getting kind of tired of the hamster wheel of Hollywood. It was taking a toll on his health, and he was doing all of his own stunts and all of those crazy movies, so it was taking a toll on his body. He did talk about slowing down and starting a family, a wife and kids to come home to. And while those factors contributed to the downward momentum of his career, his experience with Burke made him retreat and feel reclusive, and he became depressed, and he told himself that he deserved what had happened to him, and he was blaming himself, and he was miserable. And because of it, he kept thinking, you know, this is nothing. This guy reached around and he copped a feel, almost like he needed to downplay what happened to him in order to cope with it. But eventually the call stopped coming, and in his mind something had been taken from him, and I think his instincts were right. It's amazing how some of these people have the power that they do, and it's so hidden, and it's so the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. He wondered if he had been blacklisted, and he said, I don't know if I curried disfavor with the HFPA, but the silence was deafening, and he was rarely invited back to the Globes after 2003. Philip Burke denies that the HFPA retaliated against Brendan Fraser. He said, and I quote, his career declined through no fault of ours. This guy's the worst. So even after speaking about his allegations, Fraser still felt uneasy. And he said, am I frightened? Absolutely. Do I feel like I need to say something? Absolutely. Have I wanted many, many times? Absolutely. Have I stopped myself? Absolutely. There's so many pieces to just that really takes you on like a journey of what the ups and downs of what he went through, kind of coming to terms with this. So in April 2021, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association finally expelled longtime member Philip Burke. It only took the better part of 2 decades, but Burke, who is now 88 years old, like what the fuck is he even doing, was expelled after sending an email to his fellow members sharing an article that called the Black Lives Matter movement a racist hate movement, quote unquote, not my words, and criticized BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors for buying a home in Topanga Canyon, California. The South African-born ex-member had been part of the organization for 44 years. And he served 8 terms as president. Think about the chokehold he had on Hollywood for 44 years. And in a statement released to the Hollywood Reporter, the HFPA said, effective immediately, Philip Burke is no longer a member of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. That was all they said. And they were like, bye-bye, you old fuck. You don't have any use for us anymore anyway because you're almost 90. Who's working at 88 years old? God willing, I will not be even alive at 88 years old.
Well, what he was doing wasn't really work. You know, he was just sitting up top. Yeah, he's sitting shitty emails. He's sitting at top. He's not doing much. Right. So, well, you certainly don't want him to be under your moniker if he's doing crap like that. And to me, this is kind of like, this statement they put out is kind of unceremonious. Like, where's the comment? Like, we support Black Lives Matter, or, you know, we don't agree with it. I don't understand. They were just kind of like, yeah, bye. We didn't know, he's gone now. Pretend it never happened. Well, I think they said it the way they said it just because they were like, let's just say it quickly to kind of sweep it under the rug, because they didn't want to make more details, and then people be like, well, what about the Brendan Fraser incident? Yep. And then
they're like, don't look over here, look over there.
Don't look over here. Yeah, here we go. Bye.
Yeah. Well, it's missing something for me, this statement. They later endured another scandal, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association in 2021. The LA Times did an expose reporting that the group contained 0 Black members amongst its voting ranks. Not what. Holy
shocker.
Shit.
Total shocker. No.
Oh my God. How do you go on for so long?
I'm not surprised.
Well, I just don't understand how in 2021 no one's fucking noticed that. It took that long. That's crazy.
People, everyone noticed it. No one cared. Honestly, and I hate to say it, but I'm saying it because it's just like, whatever. When it comes to theater, when it comes to film, TV, any of those types of foundations on the creative aspect, the artistic creative aspect, it's usually predominantly white, and everybody knows it. Yeah. And if you say something about it or make a complaint about it, then you become a target.
Right.
I've seen it happen over the years all the time, and it's crazy.
I feel like there's some false narrative happening that it's the forward-facing imagery that there's people like Lin-Manuel Miranda creating entire plays that are for a specific cultural character base, right? And you're taking things and you're like, we don't whitewash stuff anymore, and we create these entire movies. We did Aladdin and we brought all Arabic people in to play all these roles. Whatever it is, there's this image that they're forward-facing, that they're not doing this shit, but it's still really happening behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Well, and Lin-Manuel Miranda is specifically one that I think that what he's trying to do is important. He's trying to be culturally inclusive and find, like, he wrote all the music for Moana, right? And like, that's not his culture, Samoan culture. Yeah. Right, but he did find a platform to elevate that culture in a accurate representation.
Right.
So you're not going to please everyone. I get that. But sometimes he falls short on that mark. And he does do this stereotypical sort of thing, and it feels kind of icky.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. But that's a story for another day. But you're right. There was not any person of color or any minority within that foundation for, I was about to say Grammys. You know Golden what I'm Globes. Saying? The Golden Globes. Thank you.
So once they had this expose come out against them saying, hey, you have no diversity and not one black person on your voting member board, NBC actually suspended airing of the Golden Globes. And there was 102 publicity firms also released a joint statement vowing not to work with them until they took action to fix that. Where that landed, I don't know. Thankfully, though, Brendan Fraser has made a startling comeback to the big screen. He has been highly acclaimed for his most recent role in Darren Aronofsky's The Whale, and I haven't seen it yet. Did you? I'm assuming you saw it.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for it to come to streaming or something, but I plan to see it for sure, yeah.
His performance did land him a Best Actor nomination at the 23 Golden Globe Awards, but he continued to boycott the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, and he did not attend. And he said, I have more history with the Hollywood Foreign Press Association than I have respect for the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. No, I will not participate. My mother didn't raise a hypocrite. You can call me a lot of things, but not that.
I saw that, and I on the surface I respected it, but the other part of me I was like, Brendan, you know this man, even though he's out of there, he's still well connected to all of them, plus the same board for the Oscars. So I'm kind of like, if you're gonna boycott the Golden Globes, I need you to stand firm and boycott the Oscars. But he's not boycotting the Oscars. But at least he took the Golden Globes. I'll give him that, because again, that man was president of that. So I will give you that. You stuck to your guns on that.
So it's the same board that votes for the Oscars?
It's not fully the same board. There's a lot more people on there, but the thing is, this man was so connected. Oh, yeah.
Well, he's going to be connected until he dies, which is probably not that long from now. Because he's 88.
So truth be told, I would have been boycotting that too, but it's here nor there. I will say this, the Oscars has a lot more diversity over the years because their board, they've let in a lot more inductees, things like that. So it is what it is.
You don't need to cancel the Oscars.
One day, folks, we're going to have a special on this, Lisa and I, about last year's Oscar incident. Because truth be told, I feel like the Oscars did not handle that well. But yeah. I'm not canceling the Oscars. I will watch this year. But yeah, Brendan Fraser is in the running for best actor, and it's stiff competition. But, people like a good comeback story. So he may very well beat
Austin Butler,
Colin Farrell, or Austin Butler.
So Austin Butler won the Golden Globe.
I saw that.
And I was reading in all of this that all of the people who were nominated for Best Actor, it was their first time ever being nominated for Best Actor, which is kind of cool. I mean, that's an interesting turn for Hollywood to take, where you're not, consistently giving the awards to the same people.
I agree. Do you think if Brendan Fraser did not say what he said and did not publicly boycott the Golden Globes, do you think Austin Butler still would have won? I'm just asking. I'm not questioning Austin Butler's talent in Elvis. I'm just wondering.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't benefit them to have him win knowing he's not going to be there. Would it have been beneficial? Right. This all feels kind of fixed. Right. So there's like, it's all political.
I feel it would have helped their image had he won, but okay.
I think it would have helped their image had he won and he was in the room. It would have just been more spotlight on the fact that he won and he wasn't there because of the actions of the association. But if they could have convinced him to go and accept the award, then yes, it would have rehabbed the shit out of them. But he wasn't going to give them that. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
But that is my normal length story for the first time in I don't know how long.
Whoa.
Blacklisted, the Brendan Fraser story.
That was normal. Sure.
30 whole minutes. Not even.
Damn. Okay. I thought there was going to be more, but all right.
Do you have anything to contribute? I know you know this story.
No, you hit everything on the head. I like I said, I only brought up like the shows and stuff that he started to do to generate, but I have not seen The Whale yet. Looking at the trailers, he looks like he's doing really good in it, but also it's just looking a little hammy for me. Darren Aronofsky's hit or miss sometimes. I love the guy, but sometimes he goes to the deep end. And I know there was some slight controversy, which also makes you think, like, if it wasn't Brendan with the fat suit. Yeah. There was slight controversy on that, and Brendan Fraser, his responses were eloquent, and people were like, "Oh, okay, well, it's Brendan Fraser." But if it wasn't Brendan Fraser,
would they have been okay with him being in a fat suit?
Yeah. Would they have been okay? I don't know.
I don't know either. But what are the other alternatives to something like that?
True. I mean, CGI it or do other things. I don't know.
I feel like it's more authentic that he had to live within that body type.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I'm interested. He's definitely making his comeback. I'm more interested to see what he's gonna do after this. If I had to guess, I would think he's gonna lean a lot more into the realm of drama because his action days are over. Like he's made that very clear in his interviews. All the injuries and surgeries he's had to have because of doing all his own stunts in The Mummy.
But I mean, he's funny as hell. His comedic timing is great.
I love him as a comedian, but I just feel like there's this maturity there now, and he's still healing from the trauma of everything else. So I just feels like he's probably going to stay in drama. We'll see. But if he wants to do comedy, cool.
I think it's a good place for him, though. I think that there's a lot of room for that. Let me introduce you to a few new friends of ours.
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
Week after week, I'm mesmerized by the focus given great films and questionable films alike. But every episode is a learning and entertaining experience.
This is hands down the best movie podcast. They cover so many different genres across so many years, from obscure movies to blockbusters.
If there's only one podcast about movies and cinema that you listen to, make it this one.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
What you got?
Okay, so today I'm going to talk about Adrienne Shelly. For those of you who aren't familiar by the name, she was an American actress. She was a writer. She was a film director as well and a screenwriter. She became known for roles in independent films such as Hal Hartley's The Unbelievable Truth and this movie called Trust. But what her legacy is, she wrote, co-starred, and directed in the 2007 film Waitress, which some of you know later became a Broadway show. I asked Lisa if she had seen Waitress. She has not. I recommend for those of you who have not seen the movie, check it out. It was just this. It came out in 2007.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not that old at all. And it was an indie film that kind of just became the sleeper hit. The lead is Kerry Russell and Nathan Fillion. And what it is Kerry Russell is, it's a really good film. It's a really cute film.
Okay.
But what it is the lead she's in a relationship that she's been trying to get out of. It's slightly toxic, but now she's pregnant. So she comes up with this plan of entering like this pie baking contest. And her goal is to enter that and win. And with that money, she will leave. But what happens is she ends up getting pregnant like during this relationship. So now those plans are diverted. She's working at this restaurant, but she meets this doctor, which is Nathan Fillion. She falls for him and they have like a slight affair and she's trying to now get out of the marriage.
And this is a straight movie. This isn't a musical.
This is a straight movie.
Everything that Sarah Bareilles created, she created in the vein of that.
Yeah, it's not a musical.
Okay.
It's a straight film, which is even crazier, you know. But that was kind of the trend sometimes, you know, just like Billy Elliot was a straight film. So this film, indie film on a budget, it was made for like $1.8 million, and then ultimately it's generated over 28 million worldwide, and then it's become this Broadway show. But what I want to get into is the story behind all of this. I mean, Adrienne Shelly, most people, they saw her every now and again on TV appearances, things like that. This movie was supposed to catapult her. She was only 40. But what happened to Adrienne Shelly? That's the question we're posing today. And as I said earlier, her film came out posthumously, meaning she is dead.
She died. I didn't know that.
She did die.
Oh, shit. Wow.
The whole part of my story, the twist is not that she's dead, but is everything that has happened involving this potential death. Is it? You're gonna see for yourself. You're gonna find out. It's very crazy. Adrienne Shelly, she was born Adrienne Levine in Queens to Sheldon Levine and Elaine Longbaum. She had two brothers and was raised on Long Island, actually.
Oh, Strong Island kinfolk, huh?
Yeah, it's kinfolk right there. She began performing when she was about 10 at Stage Door Manor Performing Arts Training Center. And then she made her professional debut in a summer stock production of the musical Annie while she was a student at Jericho High School.
No shit.
Yeah, that's why I need to get a kick out of that. I was like, she went on to BU, Boston University, majoring in film production, but she dropped out after her junior year to move to Manhattan. Okay. So Shelly, I refer to her as Shelly. Adrienne Shelly's breakthrough came when she was cast by independent filmmaker Hal Hartley as the lead in The Unbelievable Truth. And then this film Trust in 1990.
What is The Unbelievable Truth? Why does it sound familiar?
Let's pull it up. Because that one I haven't actually seen. I've seen Trust, but I haven't seen The Unbelievable Truth.
Oh, and Sebastian Stan is an alumnus of Stage Door too. Natalie Portman, Mandy Moore. Oh, RDJ.
But The Unbelievable Truth was about a man who returns to his hometown after serving a prison sentence for homicide. And then he finds that the details of the crime have been forgotten and replaced with local legends and rumor about him.
Oh, that sounds kind of cool, actually.
So she was the lead in that. And Robert John Burke played John, who came back home.
Okay.
But so she was in these. And Trust was nominated for the Grand Jury Prize at the Sundance Film Festival, where Hartley's script tied for the Waldo Salt Screenwriting Award. Adrienne Shelly's guest starred. She also guest starred, like I said, in a number of TV shows, including Law and Order, Oz, Homicide, Life on the Street.
Who hasn't been in Law and Order?
I mean, it's a rite of passage
if you
for a
live
New
in
Yorker.
New York, you're going to be in Law and Order.
And she played major roles in over 24 off-Broadway plays, often at Manhattan's Workhouse Theater. And in 2005, she appeared in the film Factotum, starring Matt Dillon. I've never seen that one. During the 1990s, she started to segue into behind the camera. So she wrote and directed 1999's I'll Take You There, in which she appeared alongside Ali Sheedy. Some of you know her from Breakfast Club. She won a U.S. Comedy Arts Festival Film Discovery Jury Award in 2000 for direction for this film. Her final work, as I said, was for writing, directing, co-set, and costume designing, and co-starring in the film Waitress, starring Kerry Russell and Nathan Fillion.
So she did everything. She had her hands in everything. Been there, sis. Been there.
Yeah, she was doing everything. in the film, fun fact, I was going to say her daughter, Sophie, has a cameo near the end of the film. She was only 2 back then.
Oh, my God.
Before I get into all of this, I want to give another detail here. Adrienne Shelly, she essentially took her professional surname from her late father's actual name. But she was married to Andy Ostroy, the chairman and CEO of the marketing firm Belardi and Ostroy. They met back in 2001 on Match.com.
On Match.com.
I thought that was cool as fuck. I was like, hey, they got married in 2002 and they had a daughter, Sophie, born in 2003. And basically, Adrienne Shelly wrote Waitress, while she was pregnant. So Adrienne Shelly was found dead at approximately 5:45 p.m. November 1st, 2006. Her husband, Andy Ostroy, discovered her body in the Abingdon Square apartment in Manhattan's West Village that she used as her office. Ostroy had dropped her off at 9:30 a.m. and he became concerned that Shelly had not been in contact during the day, responding to his texts, things like that, because again, they have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up going over to that apartment complex and he asked the doorman to accompany him into the apartment because he thought something was wrong. They found her body hanging from a shower rod in the bathtub with a bedsheet around her neck.
What? So it looks like suicide.
It's interesting you said it looks. Yeah, we're gonna...
Well, I mean...
Yeah.
It's all a little suspicious. Like asking the doorman to come with you, as much as that sounds like something that people in New York City do to unlock the door or whatever. My first instinct, just because I live in this crime-ridden
world.
Yeah, I'm just a crime junkie. My first thought was like, oh, he wants a witness to see that he wasn't already in there. And the witness is going to be part of finding her. We'll
see. Sounds like you're putting some stuff together there, maybe. So, although the door was unlocked and money was missing from her wallet, the NYPD believed Shelly had taken her own life. An autopsy found she had died as a result of neck compression. Ostroy, her husband, insisted his wife was happy in her personal and professional life. She would never have committed suicide, especially leaving her 2.5-year-old daughter motherless. He was very adamant about that and insistent, and he kept going to the NYPD about this. First, they were just like, autopsy says what it says, things like that. However, his protest over the following days prompted further examination of the crime scene and the bathroom in particular, which ended up revealing a sneaker print in gypsum dust on the toilet beside where her body had been found. The print was matched to the other shoe prints in the building where construction work had been done the day of her death. Get ready for this.
Okay. So the gypsum is from whatever construction they're doing?
Correct.
Ah.
And they managed to match to the shoe prints that were within the building itself from the construction team. So fast forward to Diego Pilico, a 19-year-old construction worker from Ecuador, was arrested on November 6th, and he confessed on tape to attacking Shelly and staging the fake suicide.
What?
Pilico's original version claimed that when Shelly demanded the construction noise be kept down, he threw a hammer at her. Afraid she might make a complaint that could result in his deportation since he had immigrated into the United States illegally, he followed her back to her apartment. Pilico said Shelly slapped him when he grabbed her at the apartment door, and he retaliated by punching her in the face, knocking her to the ground where she hit her head and fell unconscious.
Is there any scientific evidence to corroborate that story?
We're gonna get there.
What? It's a lot of assault.
Yeah, you're asking for scientific things, and that's fine. Hang tight. We got stuff for you.
Okay.
So yes, I told you that part, and allegedly she hit her head and fell unconscious. Believing that he had killed her, he then hung her to make it appear a suicide. This is the first version that I told you that he told the police. This version of events was not supported given the lack of head trauma and the presence of neck compression as the cause of death. So, Pilico gave a different version, a different account during his actual trial, which happened in 2008.
He went all the way to trial and didn't tell a new story until he was there?
Correct.
Oh, shit.
And he ended up saying in the second version, he was returning to work after lunch when he noticed Shelly returning to her apartment in the elevator, and he decided to follow and rob her. He said he waited on the landing of Shelly's apartment as she entered and left the door open, and he had intended to steal from her purse. When Shelly caught him and threatened to call the police, he claims he grabbed the phone and covered her mouth to quiet her screaming. Ultimately, he held on to her mouth and nose to the point where she had passed out. Well, she went unconscious. He let go at the time of that. So basically, he's holding her, not realizing basically he is technically suffocating her a little bit. She goes unconscious. Not saying she's dead yet, though. But Pilico, once that happened, panicked, bound a bed sheet around her neck, and strangled her. He then dragged her to the bathroom where he hung her body from the shower rod to make her death look like a suicide.
Oh my God.
Now, the second version that he told, that actually seemed to be consistent with the lack of dust on Shelly's shoes, which she was not wearing when she was found. So prosecutors thought if charged with murder, Pilico might return to his original story, and a jury trial could find him guilty of a lesser charge. So what they did is they went back to the medical examiner. The medical examiner determined that Shelly was still alive when she was hung. So
what?
Again, he tried to silence her. It was technically suffocating her. She went unconscious. He then took the bed sheet to strangle her with. He thought he killed her. And then he, created the hanging afterwards. She did not die until the actual hanging.
That is so horrible.
It's fucked up. It's just
oh my God,
so fucking sickening. And kudos to the prosecution team. They had the wherewithal and the foresight. They were like, if we let him do this, he may go back on his original story. Let's get the examiner in here and reevaluate every single thing. Like, kudos to them. And also, big fucking kudos to her husband. Her husband, for days straight after her death, he kept stating she would never do that. And granted, I'm sure police hear situations like that all the time where people are saying so-and-so couldn't have done it. And I get where they're coming from in terms of they might not have taken it to the level they were taking it at. But I'm so grateful they finally gave a chance to listen to him. And then they found the evidence in the bathroom.
Wow.
So, yeah. With all of that happening, and once they introduced the new medical examiner's autopsy results and additional findings, he pled guilty to first-degree manslaughter, and he was sentenced to 25 years in prison without parole. Since he is an illegal immigrant, he is scheduled to be deported to Ecuador upon, his 25-year release. Like, once he's released, he will be deported back to his country, but he's doing his time in here. So at Pilico's sentencing on March 13th, 2008, that's like close to a year and a half, almost 2 years after the death, Shelly's husband and family members said that, they'll never forgive him. And Andy Orstroy, her husband, flat out said to Pilico, like in a face-off there, he's like, you're nothing more than a cold-blooded killer. And that he hoped he would rot in jail, which justifiably so. I fucking get it.
I would feel the same way. Yep.
So, her husband went on to say within his testimony, Adrienne was the kindest, warmest, most loving, generous person he ever knew. She was incredibly smart and talented. He said she was a bright light with an infectious laugh and a huge smile that radiated inner and outer beauty. She was my best friend and a person with whom I was supposed to grow old with. And the whole fucked up thing about this too is it's going to come back to that film Waitress, which I hope you watch, Lisa. But
I will.
The thing about it is when she died, she had submitted that film to the Sundance Film Festival. She was waiting to see if it got into the festival or not. She died not knowing that film, not only did it get in, it ended up getting in there 2 weeks later. It got in there and then it got all this critical praise and things like this. And Fox bought it. And it was, like I said, the budget was $1.8 million. It made $28 million worldwide. And it spawned, this was literally going to be the start of her career in the next stratosphere. Right. Like, she had just turned 40. She had already done all these things. This showed tremendous talent, and she didn't even get to witness what that film turned into.
It made its way to Broadway, essentially.
Well, that's what I was going to get at. Yeah.
Many years.
Well, that's the thing. Now her legacy continues in that regard, because what happened is the musical Waitress, obviously based on that movie, it first opened in August 1st, 2015 at the American Repertory Theater at Harvard University. And then it was directed by Diane Paulus and featured a book by Jesse Nelson and music and lyrics by Sarah Bareilles, as you know.
I love her. She's one of my favorite artists.
It initially starred Jesse Mueller, who was the winner of the Tony Award for her portrayal of Carole King in the music Beautiful. And after sold out limited engagement, the show moved to Broadway starting in previews March 25th, 2016. And that's when Sarah Bareilles came in. But the cool thing about the musical, too, is, it was a hit musical. It was nominated for several Tonys. Sarah Bareilles stepped in. But it was also the first musical, technically the first show on Broadway history, period, with an all-female principal creative team. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. With all of that said, it's just her life was cut so short, we'll never know. And her husband, it's a really hard watch, but I recommend, if you have the time, check it out. Her husband actually, he's not a director by any means. I told you what his job is, but he took the time to cultivate and direct the documentary called Adrienne, which is on HBO. It came out a few years ago. It's chronicling her life and her successes and everything. And it goes into the depths of what happened with this murder and everything else, and just her impacting legacy. He's also created, scholarships and other foundations within her name to keep her namesake going. But yeah, it's just, unfortunately, it's just really tragic, because we'll never know what she was destined
what
to
she
do.
could have brought us.
Yeah, what she could have brought us. Yeah. So that is my tale. I had a feeling you were going to think one way on it, and I was like, don't you worry. We're going to catch you. We're going to fucking catch you. But that is my tale of the tragic tale of Adrienne Shelly. And, basically, how we title this, I don't even know. It's just Adrienne Shelly, suicide or murder? Like, question mark. I don't, but yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty good title. You did better than me. I ruminated over my title for like hours and was like, this title still sucks, but I'm just going to go. They
can't all be winners. Sometimes I'm like, whatever.
We are doing a merch giveaway. So for the first 20 people that go on to Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast platform you listen and give us a 5-star rating and review and send us the information to saying, hey, this is what I did, we are going to submit you in the running to win a Crime of the Arts hat or shirt. The shirt has the logo from the album cover on it, and the hat says, don't do crime, folks, and Crime of the Arts podcast underneath. We posted pictures on the socials if you want to go see them. The first 20 people are going to get stickers, their ticket stickers or album cover stickers. And then we're going to pick 2 names out of that group to give this merch to. And we're shipping international. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. We appreciate your support. It helps us get our names out there so that we can get these stories to more people. And some of these stories are really powerful and important. And I think that was one of them. So yeah, help us get a little bit further of a reach and get into that algorithm. We also have a Patreon if you want to support. On the Patreon, we have 2 levels. We have the $5 tier, and that is the peek behind the curtain. And that gets you a peek into us sitting in the studio like right now, and those little promos that you see on the TikTok and the Instagram. But we record straight through, and you get all of the content. So I don't really edit the videos, so you get the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's a rant I had in this podcast episode that I'll probably delete, and it'll only be in the Patreon.
Yeah. So for those of you that just like to listen to us on the podcast, you're going to hear this exact part right here. You're going to be like, what did I miss? Now I have to get it.
I mean, not that I'm profound in any way, shape, or form, but So that's the $5 level. You do get these videos. At the $10 level, it is the Don't Do Crime Folks level. That is $10 a month, and that gets you these videos. That gets you a thank you card and stickers. And we're going to be doing more merch giveaways once we get a few more people involved. And we want to make some more content for you guys on both tiers. So let us know what you're looking for. I mean, I'm not opposed to like recapping a regular true crime story episode, or we have special guests that we're bringing on to tell some stories and spice things up a little bit. Jay, we had a few weeks ago, and he was a lot of fun. Yeah, tell us what you want, and we will see if we can pull it off.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll give you a taste. Maybe we'll find something silly and campy to do, Justin, and just like make fun of it the whole time. Yeah.
And again, if you guys have, any suggestions on topics, please let us know. People have in the past, and we have definitely taken them up on their feedback, suggestion, and have, done stories.
My story today.
And I've done shout outs. Yeah, your story today too. So we do that all the time. So send them our way.
Again, thanks for the support. Coming on for this ride for another week. We hope you come back next week.
Stay tuned. When you look back at the history of the creative arts, it takes a lot of darkness to create the light the arts bring to the world.
Thanks for joining us this week. And if you enjoyed our conversation, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and head over to Apple Podcasts to rate and review.
Please check out our sources listed in the episode notes. They're amazing.
And you can find us on all the social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and you can head on over to crimeoftheartspodcast.com.
We're looking forward to having you back next week. Until next time, peace out, everybody.
Peace out.